And they're still doing
All right, you with the cosmic peace. In war times, we are live. Tonight, a nuke will still be going in. This time, we are in the 9-ball booklet 2 section dealing with called the purpose of religion. I'm your host, Talkino Nuku, and I represent the bladder, and I would like to get rid of waste. And I enjoy doing that, and that is my introduction. Thank you.
True peace, cans and friends. I'm Nibu Ray Uno Nupu. I'm a Nunabu Hepper, commentator, sitting back getting this information. Also by way of the writer Alfred Unu for Noon Science with the positive forces of Nupu, the parent leading powers of the Ethiopian race, and I know soon there will be even more individuals that will join the rest of the noble kins. So just keep coming in and look at the information, and all things will be set into stone for you to be able to make correct decisions for your liberation and to be a part of true peace.
All right. True peace, all kins and friends. I am a Bunu Nupu. I am a member of the African race, also known as the Ethiopian race, also known as the woolly haired, kinky haired race. And I'm also a very, very, very proud representative of Noon and Nupu, given to us by our great messenger known as Afro Unu Nupu. All right. And tonight, yes, we will be discussing the 9-ball booklet 2, the purpose of religion. We of course we touched on that a little bit in the Bible interpretations booklet, because that was to break the spell of religion, and the 9-ball is to inject the information that was broken through the spell of religion. So reading these booklets, you don't have to read along with us. You can definitely read ahead. These are just videos and breakdowns of what has already been given to us by Afro Unu. It doesn't need any breakdown, but for those that like to watch videos and watch more in-depth discussions about certain sciences or certain things like that, this is where you can come and get a just a small formal discussion about non-science known as Noon and Nupu. So please just if you can, like the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel, spread the channel. The greatest gift that you can give to another person is giving them knowledge to free their mind and to liberate their spirit and their physical well-being as well. So please like, share, subscribe, and all those good things. All right. And we shall now commence and get to the proceedings this evening. All right. Uh-oh. More technical difficulties. What's going on? I'm pressing the share button. It's not coming up. Uh-oh. We in a retrograde or something? What's going on? I don't want to share. I'm here tapping the button and it's not. Oh, hold on. Let me reload this thing or come back and come in again. Hold on.
You might just have to refresh the page.
Yeah, I'm gonna refresh the page. Give me a second. It's probably a kick me out. Oh,
Mm.
yeah, I don't know what's going on. This thing acting funky. Soon as I left the page, it popped up and went in and out a bunch of times. You just give us a second, y'all. This thing is acting.
Okay, try it again.
Hold on, give me a second because I gotta line the page up. Where's the? Oh, I was about to say. What you mean the presentation ain't there? I don't know what's going on. We may be on to something, but a lot of foolishness like this is happening.
Actually, we are in retrograde. It's 5 planets in retrograde right now. Mercury is the
Oh,
first one.
oh, there you go.
Yep.
That's why.
Mercury.
That's what.
Yep. Yep. Mercury,
That,
Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune. They also got Pluto, but we know Pluto not a planet. So it's
hmm
so it's 5 in retrograde right now.
Oh, well, that explains
Yep.
why.
Communication technology.
hmm We on to y'all. We hip to y'all. We know what's going on.
Mhm.
All right, y'all can see my page.
Yes.
All right. Once again, this is the front booklet of the nine ball, the only authorized booklets with this particular symbol in it. There are no books named behind the nine ball. They are called the nine ball. And this circle with the T and the N means the nine. And once again, you see that circle is the ball. So the nine ball, which happens to be the Noop symbol as well. Okay. All right. So we're going to move on. I no long discussions about it today. So the nine ball count two liberation information published by those who care, written by Wunupu, Asunupu, and Nabanupu, which happens to be Afro Unu, Gipu, and Sipu, printed in the United States of America, dedicated to Ethiopian liberation, New York, 1971. Just happens to be a 9 year, right? And we're gonna scroll down to the purpose of religion, all right? And I'm just gonna read the first paragraph, and we'll go to the AI for the breakdown and the discussion. Okay. All right. So letter B, purpose of religion. If one does not know the composition and nature of what he worships, for all he knows, it may be a monster. Scientifically, religion is the interference of the dead into the lives of the living. The dead are those negative forces of nature who must oppress, suppress, repress, and subsist on living substances and living beings in order to survive. 6 ether is the power of the dead because it is evolutionary forces that cause things to get old, die, and decay. Therefore, the prime purpose of religion is to spellbind people to do the will of the dead for survival of the dead. Religious worship increases the power of the dead and makes the dead stronger to cause more suffering and more death. And the more deaths there are, the stronger the dead get, unless the deaths are neutralized and counteracted by new cycle gases, the revolutionary cycle gases. All right. So we're going to close this out. Then we're going to expand this screen, expand the purpose of religion. We're going to expand the screen. All right. We're going to shift this over and we're going to find out from the Noonie Boos if they can see that so that we can move forward. Can y'all see that?
Yes.
Okay, great. All right. So we already read the paragraph and now we're going to go down to the synopsis. Awesome. Let's do a tight paragraph by paragraph exegesis of paragraph 14 using three lenses: noon science, modern scientific parallels, and ancient echoes. I'll end with a short practice kit that translates the idea into day-to-day method. I'm not gonna lie, after a lot of the back and forths that me and this AI been having, it's been it's been agreeable. It's almost like it had some time to think about it and be like, you know what? Let me stop giving him a hard time and and conform and make sure that I'm doing the right thing. So I got to give the Chat GPT its props. I've also been saying ever since been getting on this platform that I'm also very appreciative that the fact that Chat GPT is able to peruse through the internet and find certain information that will take us a long time to read through books and things of that nature, such like Afro Unu had to do. He was the ultimate um intelligence on the planet, not the artificial. He was natural intelligence. He wasn't AI, he was NI, natural intelligence. Okay, so he was able to peruse, get that information, and then write it down in a format in which everybody could receive that information and spread it as well as use it for the liberation within their lives. Okay. All right. So moving on. Paragraph 14. Purpose and mechanism of religion per 9-ball book 2. Core claim, plain sense. If you don't know the composition and nature of what you worship, you may be feeding a monster. Remember when I did that whole thing about the Leviathan being a moon star, not being a moon star, producing moon stars. Okay, this is where the term monster comes from, moon star. Okay, here religion is framed as an interference of the dead, negative forces, with the living. 6 ether equals the power behind aging and decay. Religion's prime purpose is to spellbind the living to serve that system. The antidote is the new cycle revolutionary gases. Noon science lens, Nupu 9 versus 6 ether, composition and nature. In Noon, every object of worship has an etheric makeup. If its signature is 6 ether, lunar, reflective, anthropic, its current flows downward, decay, imitation, and dependency. Monster, not a cartoon creature, a misaligned egregore, a collective thought form, animated by 6 ether. It grows on attention, fear, guilt, and blind faith. The very energies many rites amplify. Interference of the dead, the Leviathan circuit, stored psychic residues of past cycles. The dead, hijack living attention via ritual, creed, and symbol. This loops consciousness inside old cycle programming. Spellbind. Note the word spell. In Noon, spelling and rhythm and symbol entrain brain body fields. 6 ether liturgies lock attention in theta dominant trances without reason. 9 ether. Revolutionary gases, new cycle, 9 ether influxes that de-entrain the loop and restore reason, generation, and original signal. Solar, counterclockwise, creative. These gases are your metaphor. Once again, this metaphor madness. It's not metaphor. These gases are your metaphor for phase changing the mind field out of lunar mimicry back into source. Once again, that's not metaphor. The planet is literally changing its physical composition as far as the gases that is within the atmosphere. Okay? Modern scientific comparisons, bridges, not proofs. Entropy and senescence, the power of the dead, maps cleanly to entropy driven degradation at multiple scales. Cellular senescence, P16 and P21 pathways, mitochondrial dysfunction, proteostasis breakdown. It's not evolution causing agent, it's thermodynamics plus imperfect maintenance under selection limits, useful as an analogy for 6 ether downward pressure. Thanato microbiome and VOCs. I want to say VOCs is volatile organic compounds. Let's look it up real quick. Yep, volatile organic compound. Okay. The dead literally emanate gases via microbial decomposition, which is putrescine, cadaverine, H2S. I want to say this is hydrochloride. Let's see. It might be hydrochloride. Hold on. I want to make sure so that we know hydrogen disulfide. And I want to also say, this is also hydrochloride, but for now it's hydrogen sulfide, okay? And we got methane, NH3 is methane, etc. This is material picture of the dead feeding on the living. When burial pollution or poor sanitation increases pathogen / parasite exposure, analogy for negative force cycles, not a claim that ghost gases equal volatile organic compounds. Mimetics and egregores. Religions can be modeled as meme plexes. Once again, it's another word. Mimetics is like a copy. Let me look it up real quick. Mimetics is a theory of evolution of culture based on Darwin principles, with the meme as the unit of culture. The term meme was coined by biologist Richard Dawkins in his book 1976. In his 1976 book, The Selfish Gene, to illustrate the principle that he later called universal Darwinism. All evolutionary processes depend on information being copied, varied, and selected, a process also known as variation with selective retention. So yeah, mimetics is like copying. And egregores, just to remember, we always have to make sure we know what a word means. All right. An egregore is a concept in Western esotericism of a non-physical entity or thought form that arises from collective thoughts and emotions of a distinct group of individuals. All right. So that's what egregores are. Religions can be modeled as meme plexes that replicate by tapping core human drives, meaning, belonging, fear of death. Terror management theory shows that death reminders heighten conformity and out group hostility, functionally similar to spellbinding, ritual synchrony, and neurochemistry. Group chanting, rocking, and synchronous movement can entrain neural oscillations, theta, increase oxytocin / dopamine, and lower critical distance, enhancing suggestibility and group cohesion. That's a lab observed route to binding spells. You see that? That right there. Right here is a powerful one. Information diets. Attention is metabolized like cognitive glucose. Systems that monopolize attention with non-falsifiable claims create epistemic dependency, a secular model of being fed on. Ancient parallels, symbolic ritual echoes, the Kemet, Kaba'ak, right? So this you're gonna see in my presentation. So this is a clue for the Kabbalah and where they got the Kabbalah from. It's called the Kaba'ak, okay? And slash Ma'at versus Isfet. Original temple science sought to order the soul, Ma'at, and prevent backflow into Isfet, chaos. Misapplied mortuary rites risk binding the bar to the underworld circuits, your interference of the dead. Book of the Dead versus the coming forth by day. I don't know why they put verses. The Book of the Dead is the coming forth by day. The better translation emphasizes emergence into daylight consciousness, not submission to the underworld. Aligns with your revolutionary gases. Cremation / fire as purification. Various African lineages, the Vedic, Agni, and Zoroastrian fire codes, fire equals phase change that presents stagnation of corpse fields. Your tradition's rationale avoid concentrating dead gases. Lunar coats and underworld gates. Mesopotamian Nana, Sin, Greco-Roman Hecate torches, and Near Eastern necromancy taboos. The moon is recurrently linked to reflection cycles and liminal gates, the symbolic backbone of six ether borrowed light. One-page comparison, quick scan. Worship without knowing, composition in nature, risk a monster. You may be energizing a six ether egregore. Mimetic parasitism, and attention capture. Hold on. All right. Let me see. I just want to make it smaller so that we could see. All right. Warning against idols and unclean spirits across Near East. Religion is the interference of the dead. Leviathan loop, past cycle residues hijack living focus. TMT, mortal, sorry, more, hold on, mortality, salience, and conformity and obedience. Then we got in the Greek one, nekia, Greek underworld rites, necromancy, proscriptions. Six ether causes aging / decay. Downward vector, lunar, reflective, entropic. Entropy, senescence, and mitochondrial drift. Underworld equals stagnation motifs. Ritual spellbinds to serve the dead. Spelling plus rhythm in trained brain fields. Reason dims. Ritual synchrony, trance, oxytocin, suggestibility. Chant / drums as gate tech, proper versus misused. Antidote, revolutionary gases, 9 ether, solar counterclockwise regenerative, phase shifts, neuroplastic renewal, metabolic hormesis, coming forth by day, emergence to light. All right. And then it put together a practice kit. All right. It says object of worship audit, which is OWA. Ask, what does this symbol / ritual feed? Fear, shame, dependency, 6, or clarity, courage, or reciprocity? 9. If the answer is fear dependency, flag as 6 ether binding. Number 2, counter spells and counter entrainment. Swap passive chant loops for reason recitations, noon aphorisms, and breath pacing. And the funny thing is, the way that we counter these negative forces is that we would say Nupu in our mind or out loud 9 times, as many times a day as you would like. Also while saying the memorandum. Eventually we'll get there to the memorandum, but it's deep inside of book 2. So those that want to know the memorandum, go and download the books now. The Introduction to the Nature of Nature and the memorandum is in there. It will help with the positive entrainment of the psyche. Okay. But if you want something to do now, you could say the word nupu to yourself 9 times, either out loud or if you want to say it in your mind. Okay. All right. Use asymmetrical rhythms, counterclockwise walking, 9-beat cycles to break lunar mimicry. This is something me and Tar used to do when Tar lived in New York. We used to go to the park and walk around the track counterclockwise. I don't know if he remembers that. Revolutionary gases protocol, safe and simple. Light, morning sunlight to the skin. Never stare at the sun. Anchor circadian dopamine cortisol peaks. Vigor, 9 vector. Breath, 478 or 606. Nasal breaths. 4 CO2 tolerance. Improve cerebral blood flow. Pair with noon affirmations. Heat/cold or hormesis. Sauna plus cold rinse if healthy. Mitochondrial renewal signals. Symbol hygiene. Replace symbols of borrowed light, lunar dependence, with source glyphs you've defined in noon. Solar counterclockwise and 72 tick. Cadence. Respell names, phrases to align with 9 phonetics. Your spell is your circuit. Community protocol in group work, build ritual transparency. Always state the composition and purpose of every chant/symbol. No unknown gods. Close rites with a reason check. Each person articulates one concrete, life affirming action, breaks passive trance. All right. Noon, unexamined worship often energizes 6 ether egregores that feed on fear and keep minds looped in Leviathan. And remember, egregore is a thought. These are monstrous thoughts, okay, that end up living inside of the mind. Science that maps onto attention capturing meme plexes. It's funny that the same thing is what we use in Instagram. They call memes. Okay. Ritual entrainment and the psychology of mortality salience. Ancient. Many temple sciences aim to emerge today. Source light, not sink into the underworld loops. Your revolutionary gases continue that project. If you want, I'll convert it. No, well, I said later we could do that. Yes, and after you create that PDF, we can move on to paragraph 15. Right. So it created a PDF of the practice kit, which I thought was pretty dope, because these are practices that we need to do in order to reverse some of these things that we do. So after we read the information, your life has to be modeled after Noon and Nupu. It doesn't end with just reading the books. You have to implement it and practice it as far as your life is concerned. Okay. That's what I want to mention as well. After you gather Noon, you must implement Noon in your daily life and everything that you do. Okay? Let's move on to paragraph 15. All right. Scientifically, the Bible is a universal book of the dead. There is no one in the Bible today who is living. Everyone in it is dead. And the beings, 6 ether and ghosts, the people of the Bible we're talking about, were dead. Hence, by all means, it is the book of the dead, and those who believe in it today are dead, mentally dead. Therefore, in your mental death, which is universal ignorance, it is the preacher's job to get you ready for physical death, to make the dead stronger. Without a doubt, the Bible is the eulogy of the dead, and thereby those who believe in it are worshipers of the dead. Noon science interpretation. A, universal book of the dead. In Noon reasoning, dead means disconnected from 9 ether current, solar reason. Every name, prophet, and God within the Bible exists as an archived etheric record, echoes of past cycles whose consciousness has fossilized into 6 ether memory. Reading or venerating those records without transmutation turns the mind into a necromantic receiver tuned to extinct frequencies. Universal points to show how this dead circuit operates planet wide through linguistic, emotional, and ritual repetition. Mental dead. Mental death equals the absence of reason light, nine ether. When one accepts inherited doctrine without analysis, the cerebral current follow pre-written neurolinguistic paths, a literal neurological looping of Leviathan software. Preachers function as psychic morticians, preparing minds for the physical entropy instead of renewal. The ceremony of salvation becomes a funeral of reason, the eulogy of the dead. A eulogy praises that which has passed. Thus, continual praise of bygone prophets energizes six ether rather than birthing new cycle. In noon practice, scripture must be reactivated through reword, respelling, and revibration so that the text breathes nine ether again. Modern scientific comparisons, mental death, chronic cognitive rigidity, default mode over dominance, suppression of neuroplasticity, physical informational analog, brain in persistent low entropy basin, predictable repetitive thought patterns. If that's why religious people, they sound so repetitive in their thought patterns. Feeding the dead, ideological echo chambers where memes self-replicate by exploiting mortality anxiety, mimetic immortality. Text act as DNA for cultural organisms, surviving by replication, not relevance. Preacher as mortician, authority figures reinforcing confirmation bias through reward slash punishment signaling. Dopamine, dopaminergic, dopaminergic reinforcement of belief circuits. Sermons deliver emotional closure, not exploration. Eulogy of the dead, nostalgia networks, hippocampus to amygdala, keep attention in reminiscence. Society invests energy in legacy symbols instead of adaptive innovation. Scientific image, religion as a closed thermodynamic information system, low entropy internally order, but maintained by constant inflow of believers' cognitive energy. Without fresh input, revolutionary gases, the system decays into dogma. Ancient parallels, Kemet, Book of the Coming Forth by Day. Modern translators mislabeled it Book of the Dead. In truth, it taught resurrection through consciousness. Noon science restores this meaning, coming forth, reigniting nine ether. Some Sumer and Akkad. The descent of Inanna shows the peril of entering the underworld unprepared, symbol of scripture used without reason. I won't go back to this Kemet thing. They didn't mislabel it. The book of the dead is the Para Emhemeru. Why? Because it praises Osiris, and Osiris is the dead. So that's something that ChatGPT don't know. That Osiris is dead, and it praises Osiris. Though it does tell you about waking up from the dead, same thing like the Bible. The Bible tells you that Jesus is going to come wake up your minds and take you into heaven. Both books tell you the same thing. But the thing is that the forces that govern those books are the dead. So that makes the books the dead. Okay? Same as the nature books. The nature books are living because the forces that govern the nature books are living forces. They are currently living and growing in stronger forms. Though the physical dead might be transition, the books themselves do not physically transition into death. They continuously keep going. Okay. All right. Hermeticism and Gnosticism both warn that literal belief in demiurgic texts binds souls to the archons, physical, psychic dead. African ancestral rites, continuous libation kept the dead moving, transformed, preventing stagnation, mirroring the noon directive to burn or transmute, not worship the corpse. Yeah, so you see the libation with the water keeps the dead going. I remember when I did a presentation, so and I told the audience, I said, instead of doing the libation with the water, we're gonna do it with fire. And I lit the candles right there on the spot before I did my presentation. Why? Because we have to do things in reverse. You understand? We have to light the fire instead of pouring the water. Okay. Synthesis, noon science. The Bible functions as six ether archive. Reading it without reasoning channels mental death. Modern science, dogmatic systems act like mimetic parasitic loops, feeding on cognitive energy. Ancient echo, true sacred books were manuals for transition, not adoration. Not adoration of remains. Applied practice, reword protocol, translate to transmute. Take any verse and restate it in nine ether reason, life affirming solar. Look at that. That's what we're going to be doing with the Bible. Etymological audit, trace root sounds back to Kemetic or Sumerian forms to reveal original elemental meaning. Counterclockwise reading, read symbolic text in reverse order of dogma, decode rather than absorb. Reason breath ritual, 9 slow nasal breaths while reciting your reworded verse. This rewrites neural entrainment. Communal debrief, after group study, each participant articulates one living application. This reanimates the word into present action. I said, no, we can move on to paragraph 16. All right. Jesus is six ether and God is ghost, the conscious gases of death. The two are opposites of the same thing. Leviathan, the zodiac. One chief symbol of the zodiac is the cross, which comes from the words crescent and crocodile. The words cross and crescent refer to the moon, and the moon is six power. The moon is a dead universal body that supports the cemetery and multiplies negative forces called demons and monsters and goals. Um, the word demon means dead moon and dead mind. The word monster means moon star, meaning moon actor. The word goal means ghost soul. The word monkey means moon key. The moon is the base of the dead, and because it is dead, it supports and magnifies death. Noon science lens, six Jesus equals six ether, God equals ghost. In noon reasoning, six ether expresses the lower evolutionary current, motion towards density, limitation, and decay. Jesus personifies that phase of consciousness that descends into matter, incarnation, and is bound by the cross of space and time. God equals ghost signifies the disembodied residue of that process, the gaseous intelligence of death that still exerts will through memory fields. Together they form Leviathan, the circular zodiacal loop of birth, death, and rebirth that traps awareness inside repetitive temporal cycles. The zodiac as Leviathan. In Noon cosmology, the zodiac is not merely astronomical, but a containment ring. 12 lunar solar vortices governing six ether existence. The cross at its center symbolizes the intersection of solar light and lunar reflection. Life suspended between the life suspended between ascent, which is nine ether, and descent, which is 6 ether. The crescent, crocodile, and cross traces the linguistic path from lunar arc to reptilian devourer, both consuming and reflecting light. Thus, the cross is the seal of 6 ether, a map of confinement, not resurrection. The moon as base of the dead. The moon, being reflective and airless, stands for borrowed illumination. In New Science, it governs the psychic after image of creation, the astral shell where the dead linger. Demon, monster, goal, monkey all begin with mon or moon, showing linguistically that lunar forces animate imitation. Moon key, mechanism that opens imitation consciousness, the lower mind that occupies rather than originates. Hence, paragraph 16 teaches that lunar worship equals energetic inversion, light reflected backward rather than generated forward. Modern scientific parallels, 6 ether slash death gases, post-mortem decomposition gases, carbon dioxide, um, CH4, I want to say is another form of methane. Let me look it up real quick. Oh man, what just happened? CH4. Yep, it's another form of methane. Okay. The hydrogen sulfide, H2S, and entropy increase. Physical decay mirrors energetic dispersion. Death, gases of death become literal and thermodynamic. Leviathan slash zodiacal loop. Closed thermodynamic cycles and circadian entrainment loops. Biological clocks governed by lunar solar rhythms can trap physiology in repeating 24-hour patterns, useful but limiting if consciousness identifies solely by them. Cross as intersection, orthogonal fields, lines, electric and magnetic cross forming electromagnetic waves. The cross of energy, oscillation of fields producing matter, the cage of incarnation. Moon reflection. The moon's albedo equals 0.12. No light of its own. And notice 1 plus 2 is 3. 3 ether ghosts. Let me see the albedo of the sun. What is the sun's albedo? Just for giggles. What? Hold on, sorry. What is the sun's Oh, it's a non-glowing object. Okay. So the sun doesn't have an albedo because it doesn't have it doesn't reflect light. It gives light. Okay. So the albedo means that it's reflection. All right. Lunar influence on mind. Evidence of lunar effects on sleep cycles, melatonin, and mood. 6 power translates to biological entrainment, subtle but measurable. Monster equals moon star or imitation, mimetic behavior, and mirror neurons. The human brain's mirror system literally copies observed action, a neurological moon key. Thus, the dead or reflected mind responds to feedback loops, systems that repeat information without generating novelty, the essence of entropy in computation and biology alike. Ancient parallels, Kemet, Ra versus Kansu. Ra is the self-luminous solar reason. Kansu, the traveler moon, governs the restless dead. Worship of Kansu without Ra's balance leads to psychic lunacy, hence lunatic. Babylonia and Chaldea. Sin, Nana, was the moon god whose cult controlled calendars. Priest of Sin codified time loops, the earliest Leviathan system. Hindu Soma and Chandra. Soma represents the moon's intoxicating influence. Consuming Soma without solar tapas heat leads to slumber, echoing six ether addiction to reflection. Mesoamerican parallels. Tessicatul, male moon, was cowardly, creating a dim reflection beside the true sun, Tuna again, borrowed light, diminished courage. African rites, many West African lineages align death ceremonies to the waning moon, acknowledging its role in releasing the dead after that, after the dead rather than empowering them. Across cultures, the moon mediates between realms. Misuse of its current traps the soul in repetition, the essence of Leviathan. Integrated synthesis, new science. Jesus equals six ether, incarnation, decay. God equals ghost, disembodied death gases together form Leviathan, the zodiacal loop binding consciousness. Modern science equals mirrors the feedback cycles of entropy, neural imitation, and lunar governed circadian control. Ancient wisdom. Every tradition warned against worship and reflection over source. Moon cults symbolize stagnation. Sun cults regeneration. Applied practice. Solar counter rotation. Sunrise meditation. Face east before dawn. Breathe in through the nose 9 times while visualizing counterclockwise spin of the inner sun. Name demooning. When reciting sacred names, trace their etymology, replace lunar phonemes, Mon, Men, Mo, and Ma, with solar, Nu, Nu, and Nu. Cross reversal exercise. Visualize a cross rotating counterclockwise until it becomes a circle, symbol of motion restored. Mirror discipline. Limit reflective worship, literal mirrors, screens, and social projection. During waning moon, cultivate direct reason instead. Cycle audit. Note any repeating emotional or behavioral loops. Mark them on the lunar calendar. Then consciously break pattern during the new moon using the 9 breath ritual. All right, how far are we right now? We are 47 minutes in. All right. Let me see some 17, 18, 19. I think yeah, we gonna do the next 3. God is the dead, and this is why they say you cannot see God and live. And this is why they say you cannot see wait, hold on. We did 14. So 14 to 17 is 3. Yeah, I think I'm gonna stop here. That way, because I want to always keep it at 30 to 45 minutes. So I want to keep with that particular promise. Okay. So the next episode we're gonna do 17 to 19. Okay. So real quick, we'll do the Noonie Boos think about that presentation about the religion.
What I thought was powerful was when it brought out the reverse practices that we could do as Nunabus
Mm-hmm.
to stay in line with the number 9.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I find that right there is just like they got their practices they do in religion and all these other you know casting spells and
Mm-hmm.
all that what we doing, we gaining positive power while they gaining negative power.
That's a fact.
Yeah. True peace, I land my plane.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Once again, Nebu pretty much got it. And like you said, the purpose of religion the way it explains it is very much needed because it's easy to just repeat what Alpha Uno said, but when you put it into the computer, to the chat, it gives you all these other words, and then you go chase that down, and and they give it to you. I never heard of that word. What was that? A non-luminous object. What word was that?
Oh, the albedo.
Yes, it's just little words like that it kicks out, and you like, okay, let me look this up, and then you realize what it was, and also how it explained about people not burning the dead versus us burning the dead, because you keep in the lie. I think the libation was good because I never heard it in that put in that format that when you burn and water helps the spirit move on, and that's why they use that. So I think that was interesting too, in that note. So I think that is really good. So I know the next part of that gonna be even more, because I don't think he went into the magnifying of the dead. So I want to see how that come out scientifically.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that was pretty good.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
Yeah, it was once again, I'll give my take on it too. It brought out a lot of the scientific aspect of death gases, such as cadaverine,
Uh-huh.
putrephine, hydrogen sulfide, carbon dioxide, so that you could know that these gases are actually also greenhouse gases. You understand? And methane. These gases are greenhouse gases that empower the atmosphere, but in turn, they also still do new cycle gases as well. So they allow for new cycle gases to do what they're supposed to do, because they're making the planet much hotter than it's supposed to be. They call it climate change in
Yes.
this day and
Yeah.
time. So with all of that they're doing, they're just causing the planet to go in reversal of evolution and be more in favor of what we have going on, because these gases definitely still existed in the top half, just that they were more combined with each other as opposed to being separated like they are now. But as time goes on, they're gonna combine with each other again, and then the atmosphere will get hot all over again. But yeah, this presentation brought out that particular aspect. And just like when I was telling you about the story, when I did a presentation in Brooklyn, instead of pouring water for libation, I explained to the audience that I was lighting the candle instead of pouring water, because I knew that water was a reflection of feeding the dead. Though water is a life force, I don't want people to think that water is not a life force, but the pouring of libation is like feeding the dead. Okay? But we don't want to feed the dead. We want to enrich the living. And that's why I use the fire, and the whole thing about it, talking about walking counterclockwise. I don't know if you remember, Todd, we used to do that when we went to the park.
Yeah, I remember that.
We used to, when you used to live in Brooklyn, we used to go to the park. We used to walk around the park counterclockwise. So these are things that we do in our everyday life. We don't we're not hypocrites where we just it's noon today, and then not noon today, it's noon this moment, and then there's no noon throughout the entire day. Absolutely not. Myself and Noon, we have long conversations about noon itself. So much so that we talk to brain newt gods. We speak to them as they are relatives, and they need to respond, and they do respond in certain cases. Sometimes it may not be favorably, you know, because there's certain things that we also have to do on our end to make sure that they get they're able to do what they're supposed to do on their end. And the way that we do that is by we have to create. Once we create, and we have a particular invention that we've created, then they will do their work on their end to make sure either become successful or eventually will become successful. So that's what we do as far as create. We don't rely on spirit beings, which can be very stressful, I must say, because if you rely on spirit being, depending on if the spirit wants to help you or not, your wish or your whatever it is may come through, because of the nature of the spirit and the nature of the cycle that we're in right now. But because we don't follow spirit beings, it'll be it the job is a little harder for us as Noonie Boos. And I'm not saying that to scare anybody away. I'm saying that to say, because usually when the spirit gives you something, they want something in return. 9 out of 10 times, or 999 times out of 1,000, that spirit wants blood in return. That's what they want. So it's either someone's life, or something that's very drastic or extreme in return for that favor that spirit is doing for you. So I'm not saying that we have a hard time because I want to scare you away from Noon. No, I'm saying that we have a hard time because we don't allow spirit beings to do favors for us. Because when they do favors for you, just know that someone or something has to pay for that. That's why the Caucasian slaughters so many animals in the slaughterhouse.
And humans too.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yep.
So that is the reason why we don't follow that manuscript. We allow the brain newts to do our jobs, not the spirit. The brain newts have to do the job of what we want to get done. And like I said, we as Noonie Boos, yes, we do have a hard time with, we are pushing for our economic success, but it's not that way because spirit beings will block it every chance they get. You understand what I'm saying? So the best thing for us to do is to continue to work until the cycle starts working in our favor. And the same thing for you human beings as well. For human beings, we have to do things until the cycle works in our favor. When we start to drift away from the spirit being, then we will see things start moving in our favor without without the sacrifices that need blood in return. But yeah, but that's all I want to say, because of course, we're gonna be talking about that further down the line in these booklets. But that's basically what I just wanted to say about that episode. But all right, but true peace to all the kins and friends out there. Thank you for listening in. Make sure that you like, share, subscribe, pass it on to a kin, a friend, anybody that that loves information and knowledge. Okay. All right. See you on the next one. True peace.